Another day, another upset at the World Cup. Hi, I'm Jim Williams, along with the master himself, the prodigal Sean Miller. Sean didn't have to wait long for another upset. Less than 24 hours after Saudi Arabia scored the big win, it was time for the Japanese.
Yeah, and it's both of the games pretty much played out the same way, to be honest. Both one nothing at 1-0 leads, 1-0 at halftime for the team that ended up losing it, and two kind of quick goals in the second half for the teams. Japan scored in the 75th minute and then scored in the 83rd. And really stunning game. I think a little bit less of an upset than obviously the Saudi Arabia one, which is the biggest upset of all time. But just the way it was played out, Germany, obviously, people pick Germany maybe to do something in this tournament, but a lot of people that I talked to today like Japan, and I know that the Otter, on Twitter, the Otter picked Japan before the game, so I wish I would have watched the Otter and took that because I had Germany in the game here. But Germany played. The one thing about this, and the thing about some of these games you see, if only Canada could hit the net. Yeah, they can't. The only time they hit the net was during the penalty, and he got saved. Japan's coach made unbelievable subs. The subs that he made impacted the game, like completely changed the whole game and won the game there for Japan. And look, I mean, you can't say enough. They played really well. They grew into the game. I thought that game was interesting, and really all four games interesting today in their own regards.
The situation with the German team, do you buy into the fact that they might have been just a little too old?
They won the World Cup. Yeah, they won the World Cup in 2014. It's the same squad. I think, first of all, they don't have a striker. Kai Havertz was playing there today. He had the ball in the net, but they disallowed, obviously, for, he's offside by about 5 yards. But they don't have a recognized striker. They have three of the same players. The players that play today for them, Gundogan scored the goal, but they have, Musiala, Gnabry, Muller, Havertz. They're like the same kind of guy. They all want to play as like a 10 or like basically behind the striker. So, they don't have that target player. But they're a little bit old. They're a little bit like Belgium, I think, in this regard. Belgium snuck by Canada today just because Canada can't shoot the ball. But, they're not. I just look at the lineup and I'm just like, I'm not scared of them. I just get mad, obviously, because I picked them to kind of make a deep run here. And they're, now if Spain beats them, they're gonna be out if Spain beats them at this point, because I think Japan will probably get some kind of result against Costa Rica. Costa Rica might be the worst team on the planet right now.
Well, we have we had a day of very interesting games. We had the Spain situation, which we're going to show here in a second. Spain 7, Costa Rica 0. First time Spain has ever scored 7 goals in a World Cup, which doesn't surprise. 7 goals in any international situation is quite a bit. But today they just could not be denied.
Yeah, this team is, Gavi got a goal, Pedri. They're young in certain places. Ferran Torres got 2 goals, Asensio, Olmo. Like, they don't really have that 9 either. But, in like kind of the opposite of Germany here, those players that were across the front line scored 4 or 5 goals here. And then, the subs came on. Murata came on and scored. So it's just, they got, the game was over in the first 20 minutes. And by the 30th minute was 3-0, and at that point now you're just talking about maybe damage limitation for Costa Rica, but for Spain, look, I mean, when you go out and push 7 goals up here, now it comes down to goal difference. If it does come down to goal difference somewhere, they're in the driver's seat, obviously. So you can't have any kind of Foxy's funny right there. You can't have any kind of regard for these teams. You have to go out and take care of your own business. If these teams aren't any good and they're going to give up 7 goals, that's on them. You can't pull back here because goal difference is important, and where you are in the table is important. So that's kind of things you can't have. You worry about Costa Rica and when you play them in a friendly or something like this.
Right.
Foxy talking about the Belgium game, 1 shot, 1 goal. Canada 145 shots, 0 goal.
And Bill, you're right. Spain is pretty darn good. We definitely want to keep an eye on that. Watch the games on demand. If you missed the games at all, Tubi is something you want to download and watch it. It's free. It's a good app to have. It's got all kinds of content on it. But if you miss the games, then you're in good shape because they got it all. There's nothing there that has not been taken care of. So for sure, check that out. We talked about Belgium beating Canada, and then the rock fight in the first game, Morocco and Croatia. That was just there was no flow to that game.
Yeah, it wasn't a great game. I will say, the once again, I came into this tournament and I think Foxy said, double chance Morocco and Japan. I thought these North African teams were going to be really tough to beat in this tournament. I thought they were some of these first round upsets, Tunisia and draw, Morocco and draw, to target those games because these teams are really hard to play against. I mean, Croatia didn't do anything in that game, and not that Morocco did either, but, Morocco really just needed to get a point, Morocco obviously would have wanted to win the game, but to get a point out of that right now where you're at, and you look at the schedule coming up. I believe they play next. Who's Morocco play? Morocco plays Belgium next. So Croatia is going to play Canada. So I think both teams, Morocco, if they can get a point against Belgium here and then go into the third game with Canada, and Canada could be knocked out by that point. Maybe they think they have a chance there. So it could be interesting.
Yeah, and I think that we've got a lot of very entertaining games. And tomorrow, a couple of guys who have made their mark are going to get an opportunity to play. And, it's a situation where you've got 2 of the world's best players looking probably for what will be their last opportunity to play in the World Cup, and that would be Ronaldo and Neymar.
Yeah, obviously, at this point now, I couldn't care less about Ronaldo.
You're a good friend.
The problem is now, I mean, if you see the front page of the ESPN website, he's causing some issues in the camp now because all these, he doesn't want to answer questions. So I'm not talking about it. But they're asking everybody else in the team, and the other people like, well, why do I got to talk about it? I didn't,
I didn't really Manchester United. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So they keep asking him. So the players are getting a little bit upset. He's disruptive. He's probably going to play in this game here, but the coach Fernando Santos has already said he might not play in the second game against Uruguay because if you read between the lines, he's too slow. which is, an issue. So we'll see what happens there with that. But I don't know. It could be a mess. But and then Brazil, obviously Brazil and Serbia. I can't wait to watch that game. I think that's going to be a great game. It's interesting. Serbia's got some players, but yeah, Neymar is going to lead the line there, you would think. And he's going to have some attacking players around him. It's going to be really tough for any team to really slow down Brazil. Also, just a quick note about that Spain game. Gavi is the youngest World Cup scorer since Pele in 1958.
Yeah, how about that?
18 years, 110 days. I mean, this team is just really, really talented. And if they, obviously they're not going to score 7 goals a game, but if they can get some kind of output and get some goals from this team, Spain is going to be really tough to beat in this bracket.
Yeah, well, and Spain's today just proves, if nothing else, that they were loose. They just came in and said, "All right, come on, let's go," and they were ready to play.
Yeah,
you dream for that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah, no, these games tomorrow are that Switzerland Cameroon game. Obviously, it's not going to be, it might not be the greatest game of the day. Could be interesting, but the thing, when you look at these games, Uruguay, South Korea, Portugal, Ghana, I'm not sure now. With any of these games
schedule.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can, just write off. I think some games you could write off. Like that Morocco-Croatia game, I didn't think it was going to be great, but I think some of these, I'm not certain that Switzerland Cameroon game could be great, but it could be 4-3. I'm just not sure. When you look at these games, going forward, Wales, Iran, Qatar, Senegal, they all mean something. So I mean, they're all kind of worth watching. Somebody was watching me. Bill, I don't like that. Bill likes South Korea double chance. I love Uruguay tomorrow. I think they're really dangerous. I think they could win this group now if Portugal is going to implode. But South Korea, it just depends if Son plays. If he doesn't play, obviously you can't take him. If he does, maybe take a chance. But going. It's wide open now. There's a bunch of teams here that I think can win it. If Spain plays like this, nobody can beat them. Spain and Brazil, and if Argentina goes to the other side of the bracket, that's the thing. When we get through these games, the bracket's going to reset, and when we see it, it's going to be interesting.
I always like the fact that they reset the brackets.
Yeah. It's you're not, the bracket, first place here, plays second place here and stuff. And, it's, sometimes, it's fortuitous. Once again, North Carolina being an 8 seed, it's fortuitous where you are in the bracket. Sometimes it's unlucky. You play really well and you get through and you just get you get a bad draw, but you already know who you're going to get. It's either going to be this team or this team if you get through. And it just matters, where you got to go. And I just think for, most of these teams, they just got to focus on themselves and just, hey, listen, we got to get through, get our points, get into the knockout stage, and then you figure out what it's going to be.
The Friday games are obviously the ones that everybody's excited about. Is the 2:00 game between England and the United States. It's 2 p.m. Not on just, there's an X that should be there. It's on Fox, not faux. There's all of those games are going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure like Foxy's the same way here. I think you can find something interesting about all these games, and I know Foxy is a fan, but also a bettor of the games, and same thing with me. Like I bet, but I'm also a fan of the game. I don't obviously bet every game, but I watch the games, and I think as once again as a coach, as a media person, as a player, as a thing, I think you can find something, the matchup of the players or the coaching or whatever. You could find something interesting to talk about all of these games.
Yeah, and there's plenty of fun stuff going on with that. And it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow because you've got you've got the opportunity to watch the slate of games that we said. If you're a sports fan, you can start at 5 a.m. watching soccer, and then by the game, the end of Brazil and Serbia, right at 2 o'clock, you've got
two more football.
you got two more football games. You can go 16 hours of sports tomorrow without too much trouble.
Well, that's the thing now with these games. I mean, it's not the worst. Everyone, it's the Winter World Cup. Look, for sports fans, it's great. I mean, you wake up, better sports fans, whatever you are. I know we have some of people, everybody into the show, so it offers you a chance to watch. And tomorrow, you got it's Thanksgiving. I have to cover a high school football game. It's going to be 48-0. So,
that should be easy for you.
Yeah. Just
48-0.
Yeah. I could interview the players tonight and, write the story. So, maybe I'll do that, but, no, just kidding, boss. I'm going to the game. Look, I mean, it's just there's so many games, and then Friday, obviously, going to be a huge day. I mean, everybody's there's a lot of World Cup parties Friday. I know, just because people are off work, and it's basically a holiday at this point now. Because it's the day after Thanksgiving and nobody really works, so there's going to be a lot of different stuff.
There's a lot of college games on.
Yeah, there's a ton, and it's interesting. College football, college basketball. On the other show, we talked a little bit about these college. I found this thing, college basketball and football. It seems to be working. Does Cameroon have a chance, Bill? Maybe. It's an early game. I don't think Switzerland is great. I probably myself won't back the game because it's not a good game, to be honest. But at those odds, maybe. But Cameroon is the lowest ranked team, I think, coming in. They're lower ranked than Saudi Arabia. So, they have Choupo-Moting, who plays for Bayern Munich. So, they could always maybe score a goal here somewhere. So, but yeah, look, I think you could find a way to do that. But yeah, there's all these, it's Wednesday now. So there's all these basketball tournaments going on, Maui and, everything else. There's pro basketball. There's so much stuff right now. There's tomorrow there's the Egg Bowl.
I hate to bring up the fact that when you're talking about pro basketball, pro hockey, I don't even pay attention to it until December, January.
I mean, I don't.
College sports is much more entertaining to me.
Yeah, I don't. Basketball, pro basketball, I honestly won't. I just, I'll watch the playoffs maybe if I'm, whatever. I can't be bothered. Hockey's kind of the same way. I just don't. I don't have time. I know what's going on, and whatever. I follow it, but that's the one of the reasons I like the World Cup and the Premier League and everything is because it's if Manchester United plays at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, by 12 I'm done. I'm out. And I have the rest of the day to do what I have to do. So it's funny, when you're it's a Sunday and you're watching these NFL games. I mean, if you sit down at 1 o'clock and all of a sudden it's like, you're watching into the second, the halftime of the second game. It's 6 o'clock, 6:30, and you're like, where'd the day go? It's just, I don't know. I just feel like kind of I wasted half my day, or I wasted my weekend if I do that. So I try not to do it as much.
Well, my buddy Scott Hansen is as the red zone. So I kind of like to watch
Oh yeah.
Scotty, and his big joke is that he starts that he flies out to LA every Friday and starts the process of putting together everything he needs for that week. And then all of a sudden, it's ready to rock and roll time, right? And he always tells me that about of course he's out in LA, so the games start early. He says about 9:30. Between 9:30 and 2 o'clock, he doesn't have a chance to go to the bathroom. I can't drink very much, so he has to be careful of his water intake during that time. But yeah, I mean, look, there's basketball tournaments. There's meaningful, and there are meaningful games that will be played in college football. There's the the rivalry games come, as you say. You've got some pretty important games out on the coast, specifically for the Pac-12, because you've got Oregon plays Oregon State. Oregon State's a very good team. Utah plays Colorado. Colorado's not a very good team, but there's so many things that have to go wrong for Utah to make it to the playoff. It's looks like it's going to be an Oregon SC Pac-12, but there's some games to be played, and one of those games is Notre Dame and USC. So you get two teams that are highly ranked teams, and if SC can get by Notre Dame, and they're playing the game in the Coliseum, then you can look for SC in the. I would think that there's a very good chance that SC makes the playoffs.
Yeah, if USC wins out, they'll make the playoff. I mean, the only way possible I can't see them making it is if LSU beats Georgia. And I still, I would have a real problem putting LSU if you have TCU unbeaten, and if there's 3 unbeaten teams, and then USC and LSU with 2 losses and USC with 1 loss, I would have a real problem putting a 2-loss team and a second team from the SEC, and I don't think that that's right. I think,
well, you should being a conference champion should count for something.
Yes, being a conference champion should count, and then also, look, you can't, you lose 2 games. I mean, they got blown out. They lost to Florida State. Like, it's gotta. I don't know. The regular season has to count for something. To be honest, I mean,
Wait, who lost to Florida State? Were you talking about?
LSU, right?
Yeah.
LSU lost to Florida State in the opener, and they got absolutely annihilated by Tennessee, like blown out.
Right.
So that's got to count for something.
Mm-hmm.
Like hey, all right, hey, we come back and we made the we beat Alabama, who's not great. We did this stuff. So I don't know. It's pretty.
Well, you've got Brian Kelly, who's one of the great whiners of our time, and he will do his best to try to figure out a way to get there. But I don't see it. I just no, it's not fair. I mean, fine, and right now Georgia's a professional team. I mean, I wouldn't want to play Georgia. You could take an all-star team from two of the 4 teams that make the playoffs. You could take an all-star team of those 2 and still probably not beat Georgia.
I'm just hoping, honestly, I know my guy Kishore is an LSU guy, but Georgia. Hopefully, Georgia just wins the SEC. Georgia wins the SEC. I like Ohio State. Obviously, to do that. TCU to win out, and then USC to win out. If TCU doesn't win out, then
if they lose the Big 12.
let's see. If TCU doesn't win out, rankings. USC gets in. I guess, if it's Georgia, Ohio State, USC wins out, and then maybe Clemson. I don't know. Maybe you let Michigan in if it's a close game. It's 34-31. But,
well, I mean, if the Ohio State Michigan game Saturday, and then there'll be I have no idea who's going to make it from the West. Could be Illinois. I mean, there's a couple teams that could end up from the West. Neither one of them is going to be able to beat either Michigan or Ohio State. We'll see if Jim Harbaugh can pull off another upset with Ohio State. If he does that, then a one-loss Ohio State team, let's say Michigan goes on, wins the championship, a one-loss Ohio State team versus a one-loss, Clemson. I think Ohio State probably makes it over Clemson.
Yeah, I think so. This is not. There's still a lot of time left. These games. Then there's the conference championship games. So there things are going to change a lot. I think in the next 2 weeks.
Interesting thing happened this weekend. Navy went down to beat UCF, and UCF at that point, that loss cost UCF about $7 million.
Really?
Yeah, because UCF had the inside track to be the one. Each year there's a team, non-Power 5 team that makes it to the bowl games that are considered the New Year's Eve bowl games, right? Yep. And that's where you get the big cash. Well, they were going to have to go win. If they had that one loss, they go ahead, they win out, and then win the title, which was not, they've already beaten Tulane. So if Tulane had ended up playing them again, or Cincinnati playing them again, it would have been a very interesting situation. But that loss to Navy automatically cost them $7 million. And because right now it looks like Coastal Carolina is going to win out. If Coastal Carolina wins out, they're going to be ranked higher. Then they'll be the team that gets that New Year's Six bowl game. So we'll see how that plays. Unless Cincinnati absolutely blows the doors off of everybody, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Coastal Carolina will get it. Honestly, the team that should get it, they won't. But Jackson State, 11-0 under Deion Sanders. So,
yeah, that's interesting.
Deion's right now to South Florida about their head coaching job, as well as Colorado. I don't think it's a fit in Colorado. I would pray that he'd take the South Florida job, but I don't know. But having Coach Prime is going to be something. Now, my understanding is that Mississippi State, who will have an opening, isn't interested in Deion. And there has been some interest in the potential that Auburn might have interest if they fire their coach before the season's over. But Lane Kiffin's been his name's been popping up here everywhere, and I don't think Lane's leaving Mississippi State. I think he'll stay there because for him, I think that's what he wanted where he is. So Lane's got what he's got. Let's see. What do we got? We had comments. We got a lot of comments.
Most are mine.
I realize that.
Yeah, you know what? It pops up for every account that we have. We're streaming to. Right. So Bill was asking for the app for tomorrow, to see, where you find lineups. Bill, like a lot of times I'll just go on Twitter. I don't know. I think you don't have Twitter, ESPN will usually have them, but live score, put it on your phone, live score, flash score. That's a good one too. And then you can star the game. So if you're not watching them and you have, you say you're out, you could star the game. And anytime there's a goal, you'll find out right to your phone. So it's really cool.
Actually, I have that on my, I have it on mine. It's a Canadian-based company. And
live score?
Score. Just Score.
Oh, Score. Yeah.
The app is called Score.
Yeah.
And, it's called The Score.
Here's this is the so
yeah.
Show you this, Bill. So you go Thursday, South Korea, and you just go right to lineups, and it'll have, he's in the probable lineup here, but an hour before, sometimes 2 hours before, it'll say confirmed lineup right here at the top, and then you could do it. But live scores is pretty good.
You're right. There's live score and there's The Score.
Yeah, flash score is good. I sometimes live score goes down, but to me, live score and flash score are both good, and Score, obviously, Score is good because Score has its own betting site too. But
Score has everybody's, has the pros and has the NBA and has the NBA, Major League Baseball, college basketball, football, everything. Yeah. And so, as you say, if you like it, you just star it, and then if you get instant updates every time the game you're interested in, if there's a score change or something like that. So yeah, and they always have the preliminary stuff there, so it's absolutely worth the time and effort to check it out. So for sure, that would be something you'd want to have. So anything else going on we got tomorrow? It's going to be there's a couple of football games tomorrow of interest, and I'm not so sure what to make of it. There's just you got the Bills and the Lions. Now that's the Bills and the Lions are the first game up 12:30 tomorrow.
I like all three favorites tomorrow. I'll just come out and say that. I think the Bills will cover in Detroit. They stayed there. They didn't have to travel. They've been there since the storm. Played there last week, same locker room, whatever. People are high on the Giants. I don't understand it. I think the Cowboys now are going to roll after last week, and I do like the Vikings to bounce back. But I think they're really interesting games. I mean, the Lions have been better 3 in a row. The Giants-Cowboys game, I think, sometimes these I'm usually flying out on Thanksgiving night, so I don't usually have a chance to sit home and do it. But I think that's a really, really interesting game for Thanksgiving. And same thing with the night game, the Patriots and Vikings. I think that's a really interesting game.
You've got a lot of stuff going on. The Bills being able to stay in Detroit, that's got to be a wonderful opportunity for them, because you don't have to travel. So it's like a home game.
Yeah. I think that's big. You don't have to, obviously look, they weren't home in the snow and blah, 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 but they brought them out. They stayed out there. They didn't have to travel. They practiced out there. They got a chance to you're away. Sometimes I think it's almost better to be on the road, because you don't have all this, the nonsense at home. Thanksgiving, you're getting ready for all this stuff. You can just kind of play the game, fly back home, and then you do all that stuff. But sometimes I think it's better to be on the road for these games, because you can, you're away from all that stuff, and you can, kind of relax in the room and all that stuff.
Well, and I agree with you about the situation with the Lions. I'm sorry about the Giants. I just don't, unless I'm missing something, I just don't see where where the Cowboys lose to the Giants in Dallas. I mean, just
the thing is with these teams now, when you start to look at these standings, and Bill agrees with the night game there. And when you look at the standings, the Cowboys here, the Eagles are 9-1,
right,
and still have to play Tennessee, the Giants twice, Dallas. So this it's still open. I think Dallas, if they can get by the Giants, they got Indianapolis, Houston, Jacksonville, the next three. All of a sudden, you go into that Christmas Eve game against the Eagles, and maybe the Eagles are have two losses at that point. Maybe that game could be for the division title, and if you win the division this year, if you win the NFC East, unless the Vikings can overturn you there, you might be the top seed in the playoffs. And you might get a bye, and that's huge in these playoffs. I mean, you get that first round bye, it makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the Cowboys are ready to go on a little bit of a roll here. I still think personally that the 49ers are the team that's going to come out of the NFC into the Super Bowl. They were so close last year. They were a quarter away, basically leading in the fourth quarter before they fell apart. But, I don't trust Kirk Cousins in a big game, but I know the Vikings are pretty good. So, and, Tampa Tom's right there. He's still in it, so you will see. They could get hot too.
You can't count. It would be foolish to count Brady and the boys out, because they might just be coming around. Well, we don't. Well, we'll see, but they just might be heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
And, it's funny, after the bye last year, the Super Bowl year, they came out, and it was really funny. I remember them playing the Atlanta Falcons, and they were down 2 touchdowns at halftime. They came out of that game. They won the game in the final couple of minutes of the second half. They came out and won it, and they didn't lose again.
Yep.
And if you look at the schedule lines up really good for them after this week. They go back and play the Browns. I mean, that's not for nothing. They're not a bad team, but I think we got a situation where that's going to be a pretty interesting final bit. But they got to play them, and it will be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. And the Packers have got to play the Eagles. That's not going to be fun.
It's I think there's still a lot of it's the same thing. I think there's it's you see these teams are 7-3, 8-2, and you're like, man, we're almost in December here, but there's so many weeks of the season left. We got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, there's 7 weeks left. I mean, there's basically 2 months of the season left already, and it feels like we're almost done with the season. Now the 17 game season here, you're playing into second week of January, and there's just a lot of 7 weeks. I mean, when you think about how much is going to change in these 7 games, I just everybody's basically other than the Falcons here at 5-6, all the other main teams and all the playoff races basically in every league all have 10 games here. So it's going to be you're playing 7 weeks now straight, and you're going to get we're going to see who kind of wins the title. But I think there's a lot of
hit the road.
Yeah, you still got a couple teams you know, you got a bye. You got 6 teams on a bye week,
Mhm.
and week 14. You got some some teams that still haven't had buys yet. So after week 14, there's no more buys. But you got a couple teams on a bye. You got Arizona, Carolina. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Week 13, but week 14, you got Atlanta, who's still fighting. Washington, who I think might be in the midst. They might be able to make the playoffs here. So other than those two, New Orleans, Indianapolis, Green Bay, Chicago, they're probably out. So it's going to be a really good race for the football season.
Well, the other thing too is that if nothing else, that Washington is playing well enough to at least spoil somebody's party. And
Yeah. I think they're gonna. I think they're in. I think they will end up getting in the playoffs. I think they're gonna be. And when you look at it, and when you look at their schedule here, right now they're 6-5. They got this huge game, and they play the Giants 2 weeks in a row, which is wacky. But
right.
or two games in a row, not 2 weeks. They have a bye.
That's actually happened a number. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's just so
Happened a number of times. The Giants and the Washington team over the years, back when I was with the Washington Examiner, it seemed like that happened like every other year. It's like, wait a minute, didn't we just play them last week? It's like
put a
home hockey.
I know there's a bye week in there, but switch the Atlanta and one of the Giants games so you're not playing them twice and 2 times in a row. I mean, I guess it's pretty good for Washington because they get to play them, and if they could beat them and then get the bye and then play them again. But they have Atlanta, 2 with the Giants, San Francisco, Cleveland, who will have Deshaun Watson back, in Dallas. So you figure at 6-5, they probably got to win 3. Well, they have to win 3
for sure.
Yeah, get to 9-8. So maybe they definitely got to beat Atlanta this weekend. And then if they could split with the Giants, you go into that last 3 games, San Francisco, Cleveland, Dallas, knowing if you get 1 win, with the way that the standings are right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're battling with Seattle maybe and maybe Atlanta to get into the playoffs there. So, I think, is Atlanta going to get to 9 wins? I don't know about
I don't think so.
Is Seattle going to get to 9 wins? Maybe, but, we'll see. They got Vegas, the Rams, who gave up, Carolina, San Francisco, Kansas City, the Jets, and the Rams. So maybe Seattle does. So, but I think it's going to be a lot of.
I'll tell you, I don't. That the West is just a mess. It's just absolutely a mess.
Yep.
And I just one now again. I know we've been talking soccer and a bunch of other stuff, but you know what? That trade of that the Seahawks pulled off, the Russell Wilson trade, that may end up to be this decade. I'll put it that way. This decade's Herschel Walker trade. The Herschel Walker trade, for those of you who don't remember, was made when Jimmy Johnson just got to Dallas, and he was the new coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And he convinced Jerry Jones that if he traded Herschel Walker for 8, I think it was 6 or 7 draft choices to Minnesota, that would be, they could turn the team around. And those 6 or 7 draft choices became Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. So
they won 3 titles because of that trade.
That trade won them 3 titles. So I gotta say that I think that when we look back, everybody was thinking, what were the Seahawks thinking? Well, they were thinking that maybe they didn't need Russell Wilson.
Yep.
So
aging players, and
well, I mean, nothing against Russell. It's just that you can't do run pass option if you don't have the players to do run pass option. And Denver doesn't have the players it takes to play to do a run pass option. It just, that offense is not there. And it wasn't there in Seattle anymore. And as everybody thought Pete Carroll was stupid. Well, guess what? He's stupid enough to figure out, I can get a bunch of draft choices and still be competitive. And he did. Now, as you said, there's 7 games left in the season. We don't know, but we definitely know one thing, and that is that, they're still around, and we know Denver isn't. So,
that's true.
So there's much to be said and much to be done, but we'll see how it all plays out. So let's take one last look at tomorrow's games and give us your best thoughts on tomorrow's games. The Titans have a chance of causing an upset in the playoffs. That's an
Foxy. Look, they were the top seed last year, and they lost in that divisional round. But look, when they have, when you have Derrick Henry running the ball and you can control the clock, I think you might be able to do something. When you watch Cincinnati do it last year and what they did, go on the road, if you can control the clock in the playoffs, I think you have a chance.
If you remember that game, right, the game that they lost, the Tennessee lost, that was for reasons that I will still not understand. Tannehill threw a pass which ended up hitting one of his guys. It bounced up in the air, ended up being an interception. Otherwise, Tennessee, I don't know why they were passing at all. They were running all over and had that game salted away. That interception cost them dearly. Yep. So Tennessee had a chance to keep going forward. So, I agree with you. The more look at what the Giants – I'm sorry. When I think was thinking of San Francisco, I was thinking Giants. The 49ers, they're shortening games by running. And if you could – what you do when you shorten games is you make every possession becomes that much more important. And I really like – Kyle Shanahan is, to me, a very smart, very savvy coach. He fixes his offense to meet the players he has, which is different than most offensive-minded coaches. Most offensive-minded coaches have a system, and they try to make that system fit regardless of whether or not they have the personnel to make it happen. That is not how Kyle Shanahan works. Shanahan works to the system. He's making Jimmy Garoppolo look like a genius, okay? Because of the way he limits the possibilities of Jimmy's failure. And I think that, the same thing can be done in Tennessee if they can shorten games and keep the ball, play hot, keep away, basically, for all of them. Like the only.
Look, Foxy, I mean, he ran for 2,000, he's Heisman Trophy. He ran for 2,000 yards 2 years ago. He got banged up last year. He broke his foot, came back. But, he's a really good option to have. I mean, they could cause teams problems. I mean, if you saw what they did to the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, they're 4-1 their last 5, and their only loss was in the overtime to Kansas City. Yeah. When they can control the ball like this with a guy that runs the ball that well, they can beat anybody in the playoffs and shorten these games. And, they're not going to be worried about going on the road in a cold weather place because they know, he just give him the ball. He can run the ball. So, I think, Foxy, it's not a bad play. I mean, there's better, I think there's better plays in the AFC. I fight Dolphins might be interesting or, whatever.
The thing too is that, you ask offensive linemen, right? If they know that all they have to do is run block, they love you to death because you're not going to see a lot of, procedure penalties or anything like that because they know what they're doing. They know that they have zone blocking. They don't have to pass block. They can just, fire out every time. Offensive linemen love to run. And if they can, that also, and the other thing it does is it wears down the defense. The defense, if you can just pound the ball like that by the middle or late fourth quarter, they just think they got nothing. They're gassed. So we'll see how that how it plays out. But if running and defense, both the 49ers set up a good defense as well, so that doesn't hurt them either. Anything else? Okay, Switzerland, Cameroon. We'll run through these real quick and move on out here. Switzerland, Cameroon tomorrow. What do we got?
Oh, I'll go with Foxy.
Pass.
Cameroon and draw. Foxy's going Cameroon and draw. I'll take Cameroon and draw. The teams from Africa and North Africa seem to be doing pretty well in this early slot, so I'll take a chance there.
All right, next up. What do you think?
Uruguay, South Korea. I like Uruguay a lot.
Okay. And let's see, what do we have for Uruguay, South Korea? Portugal.
Yeah.
You got to go with Portugal there, I think.
Portugal, yeah.
And the one that you're waiting for, Brazil and Serbia, there's the one that.
Yeah, Brazil wins that. Brazil wins. I think there'll be goals. So Cameroon double chance and Portugal and Brazil. Yeah, Bill, that's probably sounds all right. Brazil, I think is a good play, but I do think Serbia will score a goal here. I think they have some pretty talented players. Both teams to score -115. Wow. That's interesting. I think Serbia is the only team in that group that could give them a little bit of trouble.
Well, let's just if history is passes prologue, right? There's a tendency, I don't know why, but there is a tendency of Brazil to get sloppy and let a goal get scored toward the end of the game. They've done that for a very long time. They're ahead, they get a little lackadaisical, they lose a little focus, and all of a sudden, you're looking up and there they are, right? So I don't know, but I think that it's safe to say that Cameroon's going to come away with a game with at least a score in that game. I don't think that they're getting shut out.
Yes.
So in the old proverbial not for nothings category. I think that's how it's going to work out. All right. So, my friend, tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, we will be here. It's Thanksgiving. We hope that you all have a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving. And join us at 4:05 because tomorrow we're going to be talking about the aforementioned games down there. Also, you can click in the show box below and get links to all of the game information. We have a thing there where you can have you can follow the game trackers as well as Sean's stories. So all of that's in the show box below. Be sure to check it out. Okay. All right. And tomorrow we shall return 4:05 Eastern time. We hope that you guys come back and join us. It's always good to have you. And we'll see you tomorrow, 4:05. Till then, for Sean, it's Jim. Take care, buddy.